I have, did Tom Hanks' character in Castaway fuck the volleyball?
No. He jerked it. He jerked it like a lot.
All right.
Well, it's that time for another super exciting episode of Fake Philosophers. And hi, Mike. How you doing?
You sound super excited.
No, my personality is matching the excitement of my backdrop today. Have you seen this shit?
Okay.
I mean, so we're mid-move, we're mid-packing everything right now, and first thing on the chopping block was a lot of decorations. I mean, we still have some up, but it's like my office is pretty much all in boxes now, and I'm like, okay, I'm doing it out in the dining room today, and that backdrop's down, so all my DVDs are in boxes. It's weird. It's crazy.
All right. Well, you're moving the next week or so?
Our pod is set to arrive a week from Monday, which is a week from a few days from now.
Okay.
So we're like kind of getting as much done now so that when the pod gets there, we can just throw it all in and be done. So, yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
Well, good. It's exciting.
It is. It is exciting. It's very stressful, but it's very exciting. But
yeah, I haven't moved across the country, but I have moved a few times, so I understand to at least that degree.
I was going to say something, but I forgot. Anyway, I have a Sophie's Choice, by the way. I have a Sophie's Choice decision for you. And this will pertain to you because you have both, so we'll see which one you would pick. Your Sophie's choices are pools or hot tubs. You can keep one and never see the other one ever again.
Well, that's a good one.
I thought so.
Do you have an answer?
I would go with hot tubs. I've always said that I love pools. I don't know if I ever want to own a pool because I'd imagine the upkeep would be pretty brutal. I know you can hire people to do that, but a hot tub is something you could use pretty much year round, and I think I would stick with hot tubs.
You know what? I had mixed feelings, but I think I agree with you. Because even if you're someone who likes to swim or for exercise, you can still kind of make that work in a hot tub.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, you can't play, pool volleyball and shit. But no, I think I would agree. I think I'd rather go with the hot tub than the pool if you had to pick one.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, listeners, like and subscribe. Leave a comment. What would you pick?
Yeah, I think. So I've been in my pool maybe twice now. I'm not a huge swimmer, but I've been in the hot tub maybe 3 or 4 times. And
you live there.
I'm here, yeah.
And you've only gone swimming twice, really?
I've never been a huge pool person in general, like a water person. So even when it's hot out, I'm not inclined to go in the pool. But in the spa, I've been inclined to go in the spa a few times if it's a hard day at work and my back's hurting. I'm like, all right, cool. I flip the heat on. I'm gonna sit in the spa for a little bit.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's that. But I tried to expand on it. What if, you could keep a pool, but you're only allowed to take baths the rest of your life. Or if you go with the hot tub, it's only showers forever. And, I'd still go with hot tub showers because
I'd probably still go hot tubs too.
Yeah.
No, that actually, because I'm trying to think of people we know, and I think that would be a split decision if it was a group.
Oh, yeah?
I think, because I think some people like the pool. They like going in the pool, swimming around, playing, if you will.
Yeah, so go ahead and speak for your woman, as you normally do. What do you think she would pick?
She exercises in the pool a lot, so she might actually pick the pool.
Okay. But
I don't know.
Okay.
I'll assume she disagrees with me and she goes with the pool.
That's it. Yeah. How safe that assumption. I'm pretty sure my wife would agree with me. She loves hot tubs and pools are cool, but I think she'd go with hot tub. But yeah. All right, got it nice and warmed up there. A little. It gets philosophical about what you swim in. If it were a hot tub and only showers the rest of your life, or no hot tub and baths, that'd be harder. Make it only hot tub and baths, or pools and showers.
That would be harder.
That'd be harder because I'm a shower guy.
Yeah, I might go with the pool then.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we'll think more on that, and I'll keep thinking of Sophie's Choice until we get a comment to tell me to stop, and then yeah, I'll give the people what they want. That's a deal. So I had a discussion topic, Mike. It's kind of philosophical. It's about like kind of a what do psychologists call it, behavioral modification. Controlling behavior kind of thing. I've tended to believe that a person is able to control in a sense their thinking. Do you think people can do that? Like be able to control their thinking? Like, I'm going to start thinking about this running away and starting a new job at something in a different state, and I'm going to continue thinking about that and figuring it out, and then you kind of stop yourself and like, well, that's not really a healthy decision, so maybe I shouldn't spend too much time dwelling on that. So can thinking and behavior be something that you can make a conscious decision to control, or are you just always thinking, and are you just a slave to whatever your brain does?
I think it could be a little bit of both. For instance, in the example you gave, it could be like, I want to do this thing, and I want to move, and I want to do this thing, but I also know it's not a smart choice, it's a risky, whatever. And so I'm making the conscious choice to not pursue it while still wanting to do it. Yeah. Now, if you're asking, can you change what you want to do? I think that's a little harder. Probably. If that makes sense, yeah.
I guess my question was kind of stemmed from the power of positive thinking that a lot of, new ageist people like to believe is that positive thinking. Like, that being optimistic kind of thing. I guess that's part of what I'm going on, but I don't know. Anyway, and this is kind of a lead up to my bigger question. Was I was listening to a podcast that I was done listening to ours, of course. But I was listening to a podcast, the Always Sunny podcast. It's did you ever listen to that one? It's the creators of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and they have a podcast where they watch an episode and then they discuss the episode. So they're going back and watching all their episodes.
I've heard of that podcast. I have not had the pleasure yet, though.
Oh, okay. Well, it's pretty awesome because it's half. Well, I'd say it's about 3/4 just them talking about random shit, and then 1/4 of it actually talking about the show. So as a fan, I really love it. But they were talking about, they're like in the second season now when they're doing the episodes, and they keep making this remark where they were saying that this is where the audience understood the kind of comedy they were doing. Like they got a vibe for the flow of it, and people suddenly got it. And I started thinking, because we have friends because you and I are big Office fans. We love The Office. Could quote The Office. I have like Office trivia for you. I'll ask later. Remind me. Okay. See how good you are. But we also have friends that just do not find it entertaining. My wife is one who just like can't get into it, like the cringe, awkward comedy. That kind of stuff. Yeah. She can't do it. My friend Matt's the same way. They just don't get it. They can't get it.
Yeah. So my lady, she likes the show, but not just that show. Any show where it's like cringy comedy, she like feels embarrassed when she's watching it for them. Yeah. And so it's hard for her to get into it. So I understand that part, but yeah.
Are there some shows that people love that think are hilarious that you just don't, or did but not anymore, or just never did, or what?
When it comes to comedies, I'm pretty easygoing. I know it's kind of popular to hate on Friends. And
yeah, right. Yeah.
And I'll watch Friends, and I don't think it's horrible. I think it's okay for what it was. But generally speaking,
I have a theory that in 10 years, The Office is going to be the new Friends. Like in about 10 years, The Office will be done, and everyone will hate The Office like they hated Friends. That, or they'll continue to love it like Seinfeld. We'll see. But
I like Seinfeld. I don't know. I think it depends on the person, because like I'm someone like I'll watch anything with my girl, my lady, and when we start watching it, like, have you heard what's that stupid fucking show? It was some fashion show. I forgot who the hosts were.
That narrows it down.
It was some, I was gonna say like some famous model, but she kind of was watching it, so I started watching it with her. And the first couple times, like episodes I watched, I was like, this is so fucking dumb. Like, this is not even entertaining. How can you watch this? But by like the 6th or 7th episode, I adapted, and I was like, she fucking won. That's a horrible outfit. What? So I think it depends because like I can adapt to it as I'm watching it and I get into it, and there's other examples I could give. But I think some people are just like no.
Yeah. It's like was it Project Runway or one of those?
It might have been Project Runway.
Okay.
It might have been that one.
There's some shows like that I get caught up in, and it's just that's what separates the art to the actual craft of making shows and movies, because you can make a formulaic good show or movie that you can't help but, because there's common factors that make a good movie. So you can give you the dumbest shit like, Mike, I'm going to sit you down in front of a show about designing dresses for a magazine, and these fashion designers will pair up with these models, and they'll compete, and you'll be like, what in the fuck? No. But you get a good enough producer to set that up, and a good enough editor, and you'll be hooked. And it's just like, I think it's just the craft. But
no, yeah, definitely. And even there's a show. Have you heard of the show Heartland?
Oh yeah.
Never
watched it, but yeah.
Okay, so Canadian show about a ranch and these people who like train horses and shit. And so my girl's into horses and shit. And so she started, she watched it, and like I started kind of watching it with her, and like the acting is really bad all around. Like there's like one or two standouts who are okay, but generally speaking, it's bad. There's like a couple characters, like when they walk on the screen, I'm just like, fuck this person. But
I was like that with Departed.
Oh, fuck you. But the writing and the storytelling is good enough to where I do find myself getting sucked in. Like, I want to know what happens next.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I think you know a show's really bad, if you don't give a fuck about the next episode.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a small number of shows that I've just written off as just, I don't care. And usually I'll put the effort in, and I'll go a long time before I just give up. It's either right away or, it takes a while.
And I think, so we were talking about The Office. I think The Office actually is something akin to like almost when like you're younger and you started drinking beer, where you had to kind of get used to it and acclimate yourself to it. I remember when I first started watching The Office, I was in college, and a friend of mine, we'd all go to her house, and she'd like put it on, and there was funny moments. But I really didn't get into it. I thought it was just some show, whatever. But then like once I started watching it, and I started really watching it and getting to know the characters, then I started to appreciate it, and I really got into it. But at first, I was just like, it's whatever. It's all right.
That's funny. Yeah, when I first started, it depressed me. I like hated it. I'm like, that can't be what adult life is, because it like came out when we were still in high school, I think.
I think so.
And it was airing when we were still in high school. And I remember thinking, this is what I have to look forward to? Fuck that. This is terrible. But
that first season was rough.
Yeah, it wasn't until I was at college, and it was long enough that they were on DVD now. So my roommates were watching it on DVD, and it was the second season finale, Casino Night, that I like sat down and watched and fell in love with the show with that episode. It was amazing. But anyway, The Office. So back to the thing that Always Sunny, we were talking about the guys like, and they were saying some people just don't get it. Some people just don't get it. And I was thinking of shows like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is one I never got into, never really found it. There's shows like How I Met Your Mother. Still do not find that show funny. I've given it several tries, and I just don't find it funny. Brooklyn Nine-Nine's one that I've tried again recently because my wife really likes it, and I'll watch it and I'll be like, okay, yeah, I get it. This is kind of funny now. You kind of get into the vibe of it. So that kind of changed my whole thinking. Do you think it's possible to, manage your way of thinking, open your mind up, sit down, and make yourself find a show funny? You could even go as far as to say practice makes perfect. Make yourself laugh at certain things. Can you make yourself enjoy something, open yourself up to actually find something funny that you didn't previously?
So I would say you can't make yourself think something's funny, but you can open yourself up to it.
Yeah.
Like you can't hear something and go, I'm going to find that funny, it's going to be funny. But if you kind of go into it like, okay, I'm going to open my mind, I'm going to take it for what it is, like... Yeah. And so like I think it's possible to change your mind about something. I don't think you can make yourself find something funny.
You could even go make it like a lot more shallower than what I'm trying to say even. Is like you could... I had a friend who watched Trailer Park Boys. Did not find it funny at all. And he comes over and we're hanging out. We like, drank too well. We couldn't drive anymore. So he's spending the night. And I put on Trailer Park Boys. This guy was losing his mind laughing so hard. And the next morning he's like, hey, this is what did it. I got a little drink in me. I got a little bit of, and it was funny after that. And I'm like, oh, okay. So he put himself in the right frame of mind to
There's that, and
the show.
You could even think of like your own maturity, because we may have discussed this before on or off. No, I think we did it on during one of the episodes. As a kid, I 100% my favorite movie for some years was Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. Yeah. And as an adult now, I watch it and I'm like, this is fucking awful. I can't stand it.
I bet if you watched it like a little bit drunk with some friends. Did you watch it alone, first of all?
Yeah, I put it on to watch it while I was working on something.
See, that is a whole, listen to me, that is a whole nother thing, is comedies shouldn't be watched alone, in my opinion. You need to watch them with people who also find it funny. That's a huge factor. It's my thing. Comedies always should be watched in groups, and horror should always be watched alone. And actions are, both. But
I think what I was getting at is, so for the most part, most kids, I'm not going to say all, but most kids dig slapstick because they're kids, they're simple-minded, and they like the poop humor and all that shit. But I've noticed as I've gotten older, I'm not as big of a fan of slapstick. I like more like witty comedy, dry comedy, stuff like that. So when I saw like Ace Ventura, the original, the first one, is still has a lot of wit in it, but when Nature Calls, it's just him. It's just, I almost feel like it's Jim Carrey doing an impression of Jim Carrey doing an impression of Jim Carrey. Like it's a lot.
Yeah.
And so I don't really like it that much. And even The Office, I love The Office, and some of my least favorite scenes is when Michael loses his shit and just starts wilding out and doing some weird shit, and I'm just kind of like, So it could be that, it could be taste too, but yeah.
There can be just bad shows too that just like aren't good. But like when shows like, my go-to is always How I Met Your Mother, one that's like super famous that I never found funny, and I keep giving it tries, and I just can't get into it. Maybe it's a generational thing. Like maybe I have to be at that age or whatever. It wasn't written for me kind of thing. But yeah, by the numbers, it's statistically a good show. Enough people like it. There must be, there's a quality there, but I don't find it funny.
And it could be kind of like a cultural thing too. So, not the same thing, but I know a lot of people who watch Big Bang Theory.
Oh yeah, another one.
And just don't like it. I watch it, and I find it, if it's a grade 1 to 10, I'll give it like a 6 or 7. Because it's like a little witty, but then, what's his name? The fucking main guy who's like...
Yeah, not Leonard.
Not Leonard, Sheldon? I can't think of his name.
Sheldon?
Sheldon.
Okay, yeah.
Sometimes they would just... Like, there's moments where I'm like, oh, this is kind of funny dealing with this genius who doesn't have social skills. And then there's some episodes where they just like lean on him so hard. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, now it's not funny. Now I'm checking out.
You know what's weird is that I think everyone loved that show, Big Bang Theory, because everyone's like, oh, we know those people, or oh, I'm totally that person. I'm totally a nerd and no one gets me, blah, blah, blah. Or at least the culture. Like, oh yeah, we know those super geniuses, Trekkie guys that are so like that. And then I watched Silicon Valley, and like overnight, I loved Silicon Valley, and for whatever reason, Big Bang Theory after that was just dumb, in my opinion.
No, sure, and you have to realize it is a sitcom, like, so they dumb a lot of shit down. But I was gonna say, a lot of people I knew who liked that tended to be kind of like you said, those nerdy people, but then like a lot of like more jockey people. I don't want to say jockey, but like people who, I don't know how to say it politely, but like didn't really connect to it. How I Met Your Mother, though, I would say kind of the same thing. That's a very specific culture to where it's like, mid to late 20s, lower 30s, kind of just having fun, dating, this and that. And so if you, I enjoyed How I Met Your Mother. There were moments where I was kind of rolled my eyes. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't even know where I was going with that. I don't know.
What bums me out about the whole thing is that, I heard a few years back, this radio talk show guy was talking about how he always likes to try as many hobbies as he can. He has like his core number of hobbies that he likes, but he always gives as many hobbies as he can a chance. His philosophy being, it gives people joy. That is a joy that someone enjoys. And I want to experience as much joy in this world as I can. I've never, I did it for like a couple of years. I don't know if you remember, but for a while I was like painting. For a while I dabbled in like woodwork, and because I was trying as many different hobbies as I could, and then I kind of got into it. I'm like, oh, I get it. Yeah, this is kind of cool, but I stick to my core hobbies, but I try to give it as all of them a chance and kind of get into it. Were you always into gardening?
No.
Or is that something pretty new?
That's probably within the last year and a half or 2 years.
Okay. Like right around when you got your house.
Yeah, because that stemmed from, because there's no rational sense to it. It stemmed from, we do the wing competition.
Stemmed from. Okay.
But no, we do the wing competition, and so I'm the one who kind of makes the weird sauces, because I just think it's fun. But so normally you could just like go to the store and like I'd go to Home Depot or something and buy like a pepper plant or buy peppers at the store or whatever. And I happened to come across this pepper called a Phileas blue pepper, which grows like purple and then it changes colors on the stem or on the plant, excuse me. And it was interesting to me. And it's not a pepper you're going to find at fucking your local garden center or whatever. So I bought some seeds and I tried to just fucking grow it. And from there, I found a website with all these like seeds and shit of like random peppers. At first, I was like, oh, maybe I could try this one. Maybe I try this one. And you fast forward a year, and I'm like, I have too many goddamn plants. So in most of the peppers, like, my lady was like, what are you even going to do with these fucking dozen Carolina Reapers you have on this plant? What are you going to do with those?
I'm going to eat them.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm just going to brag about how I have them. I'm just going to brag about how I have them. I don't know. But, no, that was fairly recent. I have to scale that back. I have way too many fucking plants.
Would you say you've kind of found an enjoyment out of it, like a hobby you're kind of you're proud that you took up?
No, I think so, because I was actually talking to somebody about this recently. With my job, there's a lot of stress and anxiety. And so when I come home, I don't have the typical, you've seen it, I don't have the typical garden that's like in the ground where I have to like do a lot of digging. It's all in pots and shit. But when I come home sometimes and it's like, okay, I'm gonna take the time to go around, water them, check on them, see what's happening. Yeah. It kind of brings about a calmness. Oh yeah. Just like going around and checking it and doing it, and it's kind of almost mundane. Like it's very trivial and easy, but
centers you. Yeah,
and it just takes your mind out of it, and except when like you deal with pests, and then that's when I get fucking pissed off. But that aside. Yeah. It's very calming. It's very soothing. It's very just mind numbing, where you just go around and do it, and yeah.
I mean, you have a few hobbies that you could say, or activities that you like to do just for fun. You used to, or you and I both used to act a lot more often. Now we just kind of got real jobs, I guess. But you're also a writer. You also dabbled with film production. You collect knives. You have you're tapped into the nerd culture a little bit as well. So you have like several things that you. Are there any hobbies that you think of that you'd want to give a try? Like, do you know any instruments? I don't even know if you know any instruments.
I don't know growing up, I learned. I was in the drums. The percussion section of the band.
I was gonna say if you say recorder, I'm gonna hang up right now.
No, so I was in the percussion section of the concert band. So if you put me behind a drum set, I wouldn't know where to start.
Oh, okay.
But I could at least read basic music.
Oh, nice. Okay.
If I had to, so I don't play an instrument, mind you, but like if you gave me a pair of sticks, I could drum.
Nice. You got rhythm.
Yes. No, I mean, I'm always down. Like, I'm always open for new hobbies. Just right now, I can't think of any that I'd be like, oh, I'd want to get into that. Because I still act every now and then. I'm still writing, not scripts anymore.
Do you still paintball?
I haven't been paintballing in a while.
Yeah.
The last time I went, I could barely hold my breath.
You were a paintballer. I was an airsofter. Just two different forms of douche. But
it's true. I went airsofting once or twice, and I didn't trust it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because
wait, you don't trust it?
Because like with paintball, if I shoot you, I could see I shot you.
Yeah.
Whereas with airsoft,
honor system.
It's very much an honor system, and I don't trust people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why. Like, it was only fun when we did it with friends. I think Danny came with me and my friends once airsofting. That was pretty fun. But yeah, it's just different. But yeah, I mean, there's some hobbies that like. Were there any that you have in mind that you'd want to try?
I don't. I mean, if I came across something, I'd probably be open to it. But at the moment, I'm just kind of like, nah.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. Like, nothing's coming to mind new, but there are things that I'd like want to get back into. Like after this move, I was talking to the wife, and I'm like, I might, after the move, I'm deciding should I get back into theater? Should I get back into Muay Thai? I kind of love that when I did that. But, we'll see. But yeah, hobbies anyway. But expanding your universe, doing as many hobbies as you can, trying to find enjoyment out of little things. I mean, you've seen just the different enjoyment you get just from gardening, a newfound kind of thing. So I wonder if that is the same similar, but the same kind of thing as finding different things funny. Could Hot Fuzz be funny as Shaun of the Dead? I don't know. It's
well, it's not. Shaun of the Dead is better.
Okay. This was a topic of contention for me and Mike for a long time.
No, so
I made the horrible mistake of disagreeing with Mike on a post he made because he said something about how Shaun of the Dead was the only one that was funny, and I said, I don't know. I mean, Hot Fuzz was good. World's End was good. I liked it. And he proceeded to troll almost all of my posts that had anything to do with movies. Some of them didn't have to do with movies. He would make it about movies and say how it's not as good as The World's End just to troll me. It was great.
Listen, if you pick a fight with me on the internet, I'm gonna remember.
I didn't. That's my problem. I didn't pick a fight. It was just
I do think Hot Fuzz is funny. I did think The World's End was funny. I just have a thing to where if I think something is getting overly praised, I'm like, no.
Really?
It's petty.
Okay, well that surprises me because I always thought Hot Fuzz and World's End were underdogs, but no one really liked them.
They definitely are underdogs because I think. Like, Shaun of the Dead, we're going way off top. Shaun of the Dead is arguably, like, borderline perfect comedy horror blend.
Yeah, okay.
Like, it's almost perfect. A blending of movies. So, like, Hot Fuzz is good and World's End's good, but it just... Because, like, Hot Fuzz kind of blends, like, sort of the action with the comedy.
Sure.
With satire, and then the World's End's kind of like the sci-fi and everything. But it just doesn't hit as hard as Shaun of the Dead, in my opinion.
You could compare it to Sixth Sense and every movie that came after Sixth Sense. Like, Sixth Sense was just so good and a near perfect film. And then Signs came out, and everyone was like, oh.
I liked Signs.
I loved Signs, but I'm just saying, like, a lot of people just didn't like the movies that came after Sixth Sense because they weren't as good as Sixth Sense.
Well, I think that was mainly just Shyamalan movies.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Just the Shyamalan movie. Like The Happening, The Village...
Yeah, well, because it's like if you make a niche, your thing being like the big twist,
right?
Like it better be a good twist. Whereas The Happening was like, fucking really.
That was a great idea for a short film. It shouldn't have been a feature film.
And how do you make like we talked about Mark Wahlberg, but like Mark Wahlberg looked horrible in that movie. He was awful. Yeah. Anyway, no, I do think though, going back to the original topic, I think you can open yourself up and acclimate yourself to think something's entertaining, unless one is just 100% not your thing. You give it a try and it just is not your thing,
right?
Or two, you're stubborn.
Yeah, that's I guess that's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
I'm trying to tackle is there's been plenty of shows I've just written off because I just didn't give it an honest try. There's been plenty of activities, hobbies that I've written off because I didn't give it an honest try. Movies, I'm less likely to just write off. There's not a lot of movies I don't like. There are a few, and I've fallen victim to just throwing them, out the window. But it's rare for me to find a movie I just did not like. I'll still think it's a terrible movie, and I'll still love it. So
you'll still watch it, yeah.
Fast and Furious, case in point.
Well, I think because there's two different layers there. You could think something, okay, this is bad, but I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because on the contrary, there are movies that you can be like, oh, wow, this is actually very well put together, but I'm not enjoying watching it.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I don't care. Look, a lot of people think I'm crazy for this. The Godfather is a great, wonderful piece of cinema. It's a fucking masterpiece. I've watched it maybe twice. And
not a fan?
No, it's amazing, but I'm exhausted by the time it's over. And like, I'm like, I don't need to watch that movie again. I don't want to.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah.
My point is, great movie. I just don't. I'm good.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I haven't watched The Irishman yet.
Oh yeah, no, if you thought The Godfather was long.
Yeah, because I remember I was talking to somebody about this. I followed The Irishman in like development since I was because the movie was in development for fucking years.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so this is when I was still even auditioning in LA, where I was like, man, if I get the right audition, I'd love to be in this movie. Like, you know, that fucking jerking yourself off kind of shit. And like, so I was following that movie for fucking almost a decade, I want to say.
Wow.
And so when it was made, I was like, oh my God, it's finally getting made. Pesci is in it, like they talked about, like all these guys are in it. And then I was like, it was like 3.5 hours long. I was like, oh my God.
Make it a show. Oh my God.
That a lot of people said that too. It was Netflix, but I remember seeing that and I was like, I have to put aside 3.5, and even like my girl's parents, like a lot of people like, Mike, you're going to love this movie. And I was like, yeah, but it's 3.5 hours.
You might like it. I don't know. I liked it.
No, I'm sure I would. I'm sure I would. Just 3.5 hours. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, that's rough. What's funny is because like I have problems sitting down to watch 2.5, 3 hour movies, but I'll watch 3 hours of a show like it's nothing. I'll sit down and watch a series and play next episode. Yeah, no problem. And
you know what? I'm kind of the same. There's a podcast I listen to when I'm driving. And so the way this guy does it is that when he does his episode, it's like an hour and a half maybe.
Okay.
But then his producer breaks down all the segments, or at least the popular segments, into like maybe 2 minutes, sometimes up to like 7 or 8 minutes, like clips. So you're absolutely right. I will watch all those clips.
Yeah.
By themselves. But when I see like the hour and a half thing, I'm like, no. Skip it.
Yeah.
Something psychological there.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, but anyway, the movies. The other point I made was music. I wrote down point I wrote down was music. There's not a lot of music I don't like except modern country. Mumble rap. I do not like mumble rap. I've tried it, but I can't get into it. But apart from that, rock and roll, rap, hippity hop, some of the classic country. You know, I love it all. I like it all.
And I think you're mature enough to look at something for its quality and not the genre slapped on it. Because I know because you say modern country, and I know what you mean. Like there is a lot of country songs that have been made currently that are just kind of awful. But I remember like, so you know, like you might have known I was in the rave scene in my younger 20s.
Oh yeah.
Late teens.
You even if I'm mistaken, you've actually made your own music before too, right?
I used one of those fucking dumbass programs in like the early 2000s. I wouldn't say it was music worth playing. That would be Danny's wheelhouse.
Yeah, because Skrillex makes all those sound effects.
Right. But no, my point. So I remember I started going to raves and I was having a great time, and I wasn't like balls deep in it, but like I enjoyed the music, I enjoyed the scene. And then I'd hear people talking shit like, oh, electronic music, trans, all that shit. It's bullshit. It's dumb. And then like Lady Gaga would come out with a dance song. And they would dig it. And I'm like, this is literally the same shit that they play at raves. Yeah. Except she's Lady Gaga and not some DJ.
Right.
And so, but like that's what I'm saying. Like you and I are mature enough to like look past the genre of the music and just enjoy the quality and the type. Because at the time, a lot of people were like, oh, trans music, that's lame. That's stupid. But then Lady Gaga is considered pop, quote unquote. So this is fun. This is good.
Yeah.
Because like for a while I've always been like, fuck country. But then like every now and then a country song will come on and I'm like, oh, that shit's pretty dope.
Shit. Okay. Yeah. I remember bluegrass was the one everyone throws under the bus really quick. It's bluegrass. Oh yeah, whatever. And one time I'm on a job and I stop in at this like small restaurant on the road, and there's this guy. He's a modern day bluegrass artist. and they have him playing. I'm like, God damn, this is I get it. I think I get it. But
the one genre, what the fuck was it called? With the saxophones and the trumpets, ska.
Jazz?
Ska.
Yeah.
Ska. I think we could just universally call it trash.
I don't know. There's some Sublime songs that I really like.
Sublime ska.
Yeah. My friend Josh would argue that No Doubt would be considered ska. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. So there's a range of ska.
Yeah,
you know? like there's a range of EDM too. So
that's true. That's true. Okay.
But yeah. Anyway, so we can. But again, that goes into that. Hey, if I came to you and said, "Hey, Mike, I got this song. It's a '90s R&B from this old artist you probably never heard of. Give it a try." And you sit down and you would get yourself. You would more importantly wait till you're in accepting frame of mind, then sit down and give it like an honest try. Mm-hmm. You would do that with music. I think you do that with movies, shows, and stuff. I know comedy is technically a genre, kind of, but can comedy be in that same kind of thing? Like, can you put yourself in the frame of mind, and can you break down comedy to the different genres within comedy to be like, Trailer Park Boys? It's a lot of slapstick, substance abuse, stupid pratfalls, and like dumb comedy. Mm-hmm. Get yourself in the frame of mind, give it an honest try, kind of thing.
I think you can, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not you actually like it is different, but I think you can put yourself in a frame of mind where you're open to it
and give it an honest try. Yeah, I guess I'm trying to say that, don't just write something off. Give things a good honest try, because you might be cutting yourself off to some joys in life that you'll miss out on.
Oh, sure.
But
that's what granted, I wasn't against it, but like the show The Bear on Hulu.
Watched it, by the way. Loved it.
Yeah, so I knew going into it I was going to like it being in the industry, but I heard some people, the way I described it, I might have done it here, it was like, it's 8 episodes of pure anxiety.
Yeah.
But you're going to love it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people heard that and they didn't want to watch it. I'm like, no, but it's good anxiety.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, no, it's like watching a horror movie. It's, it's a good kind of anxiety, but
yeah.
No, I didn't want to watch it initially because I worked in a kitchen for, I want to say 2-3 years maybe, so not long enough like compared to you by any means, but I was in the industry kind of, and just from the little bit I got, I was like, oh, I don't want to watch a show about that. That was terrible.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting, and I don't think anyone's really talked about it with that show, what's kind of cool about it is you never see front of house.
Oh yeah, like when they're open, like
yeah,
there's one like
you never
glimpses.
see a customer making an order, or you never see the side of it where you're dealing with customers, which is where my anxiety comes in real life, is dealing with fucking customers all the time. It's purely back of house and what they go through.
Oh, you want to do a little like review for The Bear real quick, or should we wait?
We can do a review for the Bear. Was great.
Okay, yeah, Bear, yeah. 9 out of 10.
Let's go into The Bear. No, 9. I would say 9 out of 10. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it was good.
Yeah.
I would say I literally episode 7. I almost had a fucking anxiety attack.
That was the long shot, right? The
or at least they made it appear to be a long shot. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The what do they call it now? The no cuts, no breaks, or whatever. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, just art, crafts wise, just the product itself, the quality of it was amazing. Mm-hmm. The editing, the cinematography, that one long shot episode was just yeah. So just by quality means, it was already great.
Yeah, and it was clever enough, like comedically, it was clever enough, but never over the top. Mm-hmm. It was realistic for the most part. There was a couple times where I was like, I'm not sure if they'd get away with that. Yeah. Like when she stabs him.
Yeah.
I was like, that would not be okay.
Well, there's some. Let's get into the dislikes first. The things I didn't like about it. Xanax at the party. That part, I was like, come on, really?
So, yeah. So I I'm not sure if you dislike what I dislike about it. What I disliked, I actually thought it was really funny with the Xanax and the punch and all the kids passed out, and then what's his name, Oliver Platt, was like, oh, no, I'm fine with this.
Right, yeah.
But what was dumb about it was, like, he dropped the whole fucking bottle of Xanax, not just the pills, the entire bottle in there.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah, there's...
Like, in a show that's otherwise pretty realistic, how did this dude drop an entire bottle of the Xanax in there? It was just...
It would have been better if he purposely did it and they made the character work. Like, he purposely drugged the whole party because he's like, yeah, fuck it. Because that would, like, kind of match his character. But for me, it was like the whole show had such an element of what we even said, realistic, realism. And that whole scene of not only doing it, the effectiveness of it, the staging of the kids, like, perfectly laid down.
Yeah.
And then how quickly it took effect. Like, the one guy was sipping it and then he, like, suddenly felt tired and went laid down. Like, the fact that it worked that fast and didn't kill everybody. And then the dude's reaction, like the Platt's reaction of like, this is fine. It was just such like suspended. It became farce at that point. And I was like,
yeah. And you hit on something for a show that's otherwise realistic. I really would want to Google and see if putting Xanax in a glass of water would make the water toxic. Because, like, like the pills have kind of like that coating on it. So would it really, like, dissolve? Because even I think when they looked into the, like, the pill was, like, they weren't dissolved or, like, damaged at all, didn't look like. So, like, would that actually happen? It worked for me. I thought the payoff was when Oliver Platt was like, oh, okay, because all the kids were screaming and everything, so they're all quiet. And he's like, no, I'm into it. So it was a funny payoff. It did break. It
cracked me up.
Yeah, no, it was great, but it did break the barrier of realism. I will give you that 100%.
There was like things that it's hard to find. It's hard to think of things I didn't like, because things I didn't like were the character's flaws. Not to say the character was like badly written, but their actual character flaws.
No, I understand. It's not, because there's difference between a character who has a flaw in him because of the writer, and then a character who has a flaw in him as a realistic character. Yeah,
right.
No, I get it.
So I often found myself getting anxious and like wanting to yell "shut up" to everyone because they're all screaming, because the things I didn't like were part of their character, and we all know people like that, and it drives us insane. But
I will say this is a dislike, but it's a funny dislike. So in episode 7, the anxiety episode, because literally, so viewers or listeners, if you're watching, when that ticket thing, the ticket printer started just going, spoilers.
Yeah, so I missed like what exactly happened there. I just knew it went crazy.
At my place, we don't have a tablet that takes to-go orders. We don't have that. But I kind of know about it, to where you take a tablet and you can like hook it to your POS system, like your ordering system.
Gotcha.
To where, and again, we don't work with it, so I'm kind of speculating here, but like you hook it to your system. And so when somebody on Grubhub or one of those, takeout things puts an order in, my understanding is there's 2 different ways to go about it. Either 1, somebody has to see the tablet and then manually put the order in, or 2, the tablet's linked to your system so that the order automatically goes through.
Oh, okay.
So from what I understood from that was they were like, okay, yeah, she hooked up the tablet, like we have to-go orders, blah, blah, blah. And they enabled pre-ordering. So from the moment she got the tablet, which could have been a week, could have been a couple days, whatever.
Right.
People were ordering. Even though they weren't hooking it up till that day, people were ordering for that day. Now, I will say the amount of tickets that came through there was 100% completely unrealistic. There's no way. Granted, it still got the anxiety going, because if you watch that episode, even when like the camera's panning around focusing on other things, that printer is still just reeling out tickets.
It was a great like ticking clock in the background.
Like I said, if you're watching right now, like when that started happening, I like literally leaned forward in my chair and like put my hands on my head, and my lady was like, "Are you all right?" And I was like, "This is awful." I was like, "This is fucking awful."
Yeah.
What I was gonna say though, in that episode, spoilers. So one of my favorite characters was, I'm horrible with names, but the guy who's the baker, who's like, his original
Marcus, was it?
Maybe
I think it was Marcus.
But his original job was just to bake the bread for the sandwiches, but then he started getting into desserts and blah, blah, blah. And so throughout the episodes, he's trying to perfect the donut. Yeah. And so during this chaotic, anxiety just ridden shit show.
Yeah.
He walks up with this donut that he has and he perfected. And he's like, look at this. And the protagonist, his name eludes me right now.
Carmen.
Huh?
Carmen,
that's right, Carmen. Looks at him, and I forgot what he says, but he's like, oh, fuck you. And he slams the donut away. And he's like, get the fuck back to your station, blah, blah, blah. and then the guy, like, just walks out. And in my head, like, they filmed that to make Carmi look like a monster. And I was like, no.
I don't know. I would disagree. I think they filmed it because at the end of that, I think everyone was on Carmen's side when that moment happened. Like, are you insane? Are you insane? Now, the slapping and like the aftermath, it's like, I mean, did we forget about what he was going through? I mean, I kind of hear you. It's like, he was in the right though. I mean,
oh no. And that's what I've talked to a few people about it, to where there was moments where like when his sous chef and his cousin started arguing with each other.
Yeah.
And in my head, I was like, what are you doing? You wouldn't do this. You would get together and get on the line, blah, blah, blah. And then I remembered back to when like I was like lead bartending on Friday nights and the shit I'd have to put up with the staff.
Yeah.
To where like, I'm not going to go into like the details, but like 3 deep at the bar, we're busting our ass, trying to keep up. And then one of the cooks comes out and he's like, hey, can I talk to you for a second? I'm not kind of really happy about my schedule. And I'm like, do we have to fucking talk about this right now?
Now? Really? Now?
Yeah. So at first when I was seeing that shit, like in the donut, I was like, this is dumb. Like they wouldn't do that. And then I remembered my own experiences and I was like, oh no, they would absolutely do this. This motherfucker would walk out with his donut.
Yeah.
But
there was that bit for me too of like why Richie would get away with like what he was doing and he like walked around like he owned the place, the cousin guy, like you know, just going off the handle, yelling at people, and it's like, how is he? No way, he'd be fired right away. But it's like, yeah, but he's not going to fire his cousin. He's not, you know, there's that. Yeah, it's like that's not going to happen, and the other employees just got to eat that bowl of shit and go with it. And But so again, things I did not. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I said just to conclude that I do remember like the way they filmed it. I feel like you're on Carmi's side, but when he smashes the donut down, I feel like they do try to make the audience feel for that guy and what he's going through. And I was like, no, fuck that.
No,
it sucks.
Fuck that.
It sucks. Yeah. Your donut was great. You tried it later on the ground, but no, you do not. Because I remember even earlier in that scene, he's like, "Hey, are you getting your shit together? Are you working on the cakes? Are you doing it?" And he's like, "Yeah, I got it, boss." And he's like, "No, you don't got it."
Yeah. You don't. Yeah. The show did a great job of. It was hard to find a bad guy. It's one of the few shows you never really learned, except for Joel McHale being the chef in that one
30
scene.
seconds, yeah.
Which is probably one of my favorite scenes in the whole damn show is that just the one scene of him at the other restaurant.
Just haunting him, yeah.
But there wasn't really a bad guy. That's what was so crazy.
It almost like real life, depending on the episode and the scene, like everyone had their moments of being the bad guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like because the cousin had some moments where he was horrible and he was definitely the villain. Then other moments he was the guy who kind of saved the day or helped out.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah. You are like find yourself rooting for him when he's in the jail cell and you're like, "Oh God, please, he's, you know."
Thank you. I forgot about that. That was actually a dislike for me. There is no way in fucking hell they would have arrested him.
If it were but it's their uncle's upper class, you know, rich kid, you know.
No, I
family,
get it, but in that situation, because I've been in, granted, I haven't knocked somebody out like that, but in that situation, they are technically staff who are trying to stop a fight.
Okay.
And so, yes, the guy gets knocked out, but he wouldn't get picked up for that. And then, like, even in the jail cell, the cops like, you might have to get like manslaughter. Like, no, he's defending himself.
Maybe.
And the fact that they already know ahead of time, like, that he's going to get manslaughter, like, that's not how... No, I'm going to... But, like, that scene actually really bothered me. Because I was like, no, he was defending himself. They were defending the business. Shit happened, but they were defending the business. There's no way he would have been arrested, at least not that night.
Okay.
Like, hypothetically, if 12 hours later he died in the hospital, there'd be an investigation, blah, blah, blah. I get it. They needed the scene to be dramatic. They needed him to get arrested. They needed Carmi to spend their emergency money. I get why it happened, but the pragmatism of it, I was like, no.
Okay. So this is your Xanax in the punch bowl scene. It's kind of.
Kind of.
I get what they were doing. It was it suspended too much for me, so I couldn't get into it. Kind of.
Yeah.
But okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, yeah. That was kind of. I think they could have gone. If they wanted a scene showing Richie at his most vulnerable, that because it was that one, I would like my phone call, and he calls his ex-wife and just does that mundane, nothing voicemail for her. That was so that whole thing was so good. But I guess they needed that vulnerability scene for him, I guess, and that's how they chose to do it. But other things I didn't like, I'm hard pressed. I mean, we'll probably come up later, but anyway. But I'll tell you the first thing I liked, if you want to get into it.
Sure.
First thing I liked was what I saw on the poster. I liked the cast. The casting was amazing. Yeah. Acting was top notch. The gal that played the sous chef, what's the name? I'm not even going to try pronouncing her name. Ayo. Ayo. Her name's Ayo. Edibiri? Ayo Edibiri. Sydney. She plays Sydney. The sous chef. Freaking phenomenal. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to find all the movies she's done, because obviously she's pretty, experienced. Turns out this is like one of her first ever.
She's like a comedian roles. Or something, right?
I mean, I wouldn't surprise. She was amazing. She was one of those I couldn't look away. Like, just every little reaction, every line she had like purpose, came from a real place. It was so authentic, and her reactions to everything was realistic. Her, the crazy Richie cousin, you see her holding it in, like this crazy cousin, but it's the cousin. What am I gonna do? And then when she does explode, it makes it all the more impactful.
Yeah, I don't know the actress's name, and I forget the character's name. The older Hispanic woman.
The character's name was Tina, played by Liza Colin-Zayas.
I will say, she as a supporting role and kind of got glossed over. Was really fucking good.
Really good, yeah.
Because she was interacting with Sydney a lot, and she was kind of like the older woman. Sydney was young. So she's like, fuck yourself, whatever.
Yeah,
and then, if you remember, there was a moment where she brought up whatever the thing was, and Sydney tries it. She's like, oh, that's really good. And just was like, that's really good. Go away. And she was kind of like, what? And she's like, that was really good, chef. Thank you. And I forgot the words, but she's like, you don't have anything for me? She's like, no, that's really good.
It's
and there was a moment of instant respect.
Yeah.
And just those subtleties, and then later on she has I think in the last episode she has that one-on-one with Carmi in his office. And that was, I don't know, it was just, she was really, for being a supporting character, was really good.
She was one I think developed the most besides the main character. She's one whose character actually developed to who's this young bitch coming in telling me what to do, to, oh my God, she's one of us. She's actually making me better, and I acknowledge that and want more of it. So, yeah. Who else we got? Yeah, Richie was fun. I thought Richie was either one of the Baldwins or one of the Wahlbergs, because he just kind of looked like it was I thought he was one of the Baldwin brothers, and it turns out no, he's.
I can see that.
But and then of course Lip as the main guy. Carmen was awesome. It was not only it was so good. You keep talking about the 7th episode, the one-shot episode. The 8th and final episode opens with his anonymous monologue, where he's sitting in the chair and he's kind of and it's this long 5-6 minute monologue. No cuts, just one solid straight run, and that's one you can't fake a cut on. That was just 100% him. So good. I was tearing up by the end of it. It was amazing.
That was really good.
Yeah, probably the thing I liked most about the whole show was the cinematography and editing. The close-up zooms on the broken egg, yolk. Because you've been in a kitchen, it's like that. You're looking here and looking there and all over, and everything's happening all at once, and everything is as important as everything else. So there's no real way to filter it out, and it just gets to you. It drives you crazy.
Well, he talks about that in there, where I think he's talking about the anxiety, but how the anxiety is horrible and he wants it to end, but at the same time, it's what is keeping him going. I forgot what his words were, but it was something like that, to where this is awful, this thing's awful, I'm having anxiety, but at the same time, I want the anxiety.
Right. Yeah. It's going to make one of those shows that I wish I could go back and watch again for the first time.
Yeah.
it's like I could watch it again. It won't have the same impact, but I know I'm going to watch it again and catch other stuff. But, oh, yeah. What did you think of the final reveal, the ending of opening the tomato cans? What did you translate from that? What do you think happened there?
So, I don't really know.
Okay.
So I know throughout the whole show, there was kind of these sprinkles of like, what was the brother's name? Was it Mikey?
It was the guy from Walking Dead. And
yeah, I know
all those. Yeah. Michael. Yeah, Mikey.
Michael.
Yeah,
so it was Mikey. Okay. I know it's sprinkled through to where like he was having money problems. He owed a lot of people money. This, that, and the other. And then I remember, I think it was either the last episode or maybe the second to last, or to where Carmi's kind of like, hey, what was this like, he's doing a lot in this company or something, and you couldn't figure it out. And so maybe I just didn't understand what was going on, or maybe they left it kind of open to interpretation. Because I'm willing to admit I don't know what the fuck was happening.
So I had a theory, and then I looked it up to what the creator of the show said in an interview, and it turns out I was mostly right to what the creator said. He had said basically that it was hinted at that he owed this, not hinted at, it was true. He owed $300,000 to his uncle or cousin or whatever it was, the older guy. And throughout the show, Carmen and Sydney, in a sense, were kind of talking about if they made their own restaurant, like if they went off and started their own restaurant, how would it look? At the end, when they find all the money in the cans, that was the $300,000 that he had borrowed from the uncle. So
I thought that, yeah.
So what the brother, and from what I translated that as, from what the brother did was he took the loan out, used the restaurant as collateral for his brother ahead of time. So when the brother inherits the restaurant, boom, he owns the collateral and he has all the cash. So he can just give the cash back, or he can give the restaurant. Either way, he's got, $300,000 or a restaurant to work with. So he essentially gave his brother his own startup capital, his own, investment. Like, here, do what you want with it. Either run it, as your own, or shut it all down and make your own restaurant and take the money and do it.
Okay. That makes sense.
That's kind of what that's kind of what the creator has kind of said, what was alluded to. So, but I wish he did a better job explaining it, but all right.
No, and that makes sense. And I feel like I maybe had that I had like an idea of that. Because obviously the cash was meant for him.
Yeah.
And he gave the restaurant to him, obviously. So it's very strongly alluded to maybe like subconsciously I thought that. I guess I just got kind of wrapped up in just the happiness of that last scene where like she comes back for her last paycheck and then kind of subtly agrees to stay on, and then they'll have their big fucking spaghetti dinner and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. No, so it was good. It was kind of like the brother saved him a step. Like, there's no way you're going to get a loan for this much money using the restaurant as collateral. I took care of it for you, and here you go. So do what you want with it. Yeah. Really good. Really good show.
Do we know if they're doing a second season or not?
I don't know. And part of me hopes they don't.
I agree.
I think it was great as a limited series. Like, let it be, and keep going. And take everyone at what they did as great, but it doesn't need a second season. I think it was...
It's one of those things, like, if they made a second season, I would 100% watch it. But I think you're right that if they made a second season... This is a weird comparison, but bringing it back to The Office. Andy in the last season of The Office, in my opinion, of course, they kind of just reverted him back to Andy from like season 3. And like, so they kind of ignored all this character development to make him back to this asshole because they needed someone. And so I feel like if they made a second season, they would probably just reuse all the same tropes from the first season, like Carmi flipping out, Richie acting the way he is, and it's like these characters developed though, because like by the end of that last episode, you kind of have this idea that like fucking Carmi still has his issues, but at least he understands them and he's going to move forward. Right. So if they made a second season, I feel like they'd have to lean back on him being that psycho. Yeah. And so it's like, okay, so now the first season didn't matter.
Yeah, and the main objective, super objective of the whole first season, or of this whole season, in my opinion, was Carmen getting the restaurant on track. You know, organizing the food, getting the staff to commingle and make it all work. Now it kind of is at a point where he can continue and make it work, which it kind of is. Mm-hmm. Or, which he said in the last shot of the show, he's closing it down and starting a new show, starting over from scratch. So there goes all the obstacles of the whole first season. So it'd be a whole different thing. So yeah, it's a bummer. The show, The Bear, apparently was Berzado. His last name, the character's name was Berzado. So Bear for short. The Bear. That's how he got his nickname, I guess. So. So that's why I think it'd be great. Just leave it be, and
I'd agree with you.
That's that. So,
I would definitely watch it, but I'd agree with you. I think it'd be better if they just left it.
Yeah,
that's what. If you look at a show like Breaking Bad,
right?
Did you watch that?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. To my understanding, and I could be incorrect, they were going to end the show after season 4.
Oh wow!
When they killed Gus Frayne,
yeah.
Whatever. When they kill him, they destroy the lab and they go their separate ways. That was like supposed to be the end.
Right, yeah.
But then apparently there was fans going like, no, we want more. And that's when they made this 5th season that was kind of shorter. Mm-hmm. Just to kind of do one more for the fans. Yeah. And it still ended good. But my point being is that they had the smarts, the maturity to be like, the story's over.
Yeah, it ended on a great... That you could have ended it there and it would have been fine. Yeah.
So that's where with this problems,
one... Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, no, you're good. No, you're right. But with The Bear, I feel like they could keep going, but they ended on kind of a cliffhanger, but like a good cliffhanger.
Yeah. And
they could just leave it at that.
Well, like with Breaking Bad, after that moment, all the problems after that moment were new problems. They sprung up, after that moment. As opposed to before that, all the problems were finally resolved. And then there was kind of like a dip and then another thing. So like The Bear, same kind of thing. All the problems kind of ended here. It'd be hard to let them continue other problems that we'd be that invested in. It would be kind of fun to see Carmy and Richie and Sydney starting a new restaurant and deciding to keep some of the same staff and how that would go. Would Sydney agree to do a startup with Richie? That'd be hard for me to believe.
Especially after she stabbed him. Like don't get me wrong, it was funny, it worked. But
it was an accident. She didn't mean to stab him, but no, I mean, she had the knife and he backed up into her, but at its core, it was like she didn't mean to stab. She wanted to, but she didn't mean to, kind of.
I read it as it was quote unquote on accident, but like
the
knife was where it was on purpose.
So she like saw him coming and didn't move the knife.
That's kind of how I interpreted it, because when he was like, "You fucking stabbed me," she's like, "Ha ha ha!" Like she does her little thing. And
oh, really?
That's
okay.
I mean, I could be wrong. Either way, I remember thinking like, holy shit. Like we've had to fire people for simply like rubbing shoulders too hard. It still worked. It was funny. And especially with like the shit show that the restaurant was, it worked for it.
Yeah.
But
no, there was a great line where Richie is like limping away and Carmen's like, what's going on? And he's like, I just got fucking stabbed. And he's like, yeah, you probably deserved it.
Yeah.
And Richie's like, yeah, maybe.
Oh yeah, I remember
so good.
So we're a little long, but I still remember the line in episode 7. I might get the numbers wrong, but in my head I was just like, oh my god, was when all the tickets were coming through, and he was like putting them all up, and he was like, fuck it. He's like, fire 97 chickens. 70 beef, just blah, blah, blah. Like, we don't have it. Throw it all on there. Throw everything. Fire everything. I was just like, oh, man. And it's not a dislike, because I feel like it wouldn't be satisfying anyway, but you never find out how that day ended.
Yeah, because it touches back on what you said, how you never see the front of house. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of it you don't see, and you're bothered that you don't see it, but then you realize, well, I guess I didn't need to, you know?
Yeah, but it could have even been in the next episode if he just simply said, like, can't believe we had to close after 10 minutes of being open, or something. Just something.
Yeah.
Like, I was kind of like, I really want to know what happened.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, there's a lot, though, unresolved thing. Like, when he realized in the second episode, when he realized that it was his cigarettes he left sitting on the stove and not Richie's, they never touched back on that. And it was like, did he tell him? Did he apologize? What happened there? He kind of gave him the runaround. And anyway. Yeah. There's a few things they did touch back on. Like, we got inspected. We still have a C. He found the letter from his brother back in the locker room. So a lot of things they resolved. But most things they didn't. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it kind of reflects in real life. A lot of times with all sorts of relationships, you kind of have an issue, but you kind of just ignore it, and it eventually will just go away.
Yeah.
So, it could be that.
What was the other thing I did? Oh, okay. There was one, like, critique. I want to know what you think. It was a thing established in episode 1 where everyone calls everyone chef as a symbol of respect. From what I've heard, that's wrong. It's a hierarchy thing. You call the chef, and you call the sous chef. Like, you could do, yes, sir, yeah, whatever, but a chef is a term of endearment you earn, not necessarily bestowed on everyone.
So, my lady noticed that too. And so my understanding...
Sorry. Technical difficulty.
You're good.
That'll be loud. That'll be really loud.
Yeah, it
Mark the time.
Might be. We'll see. My understanding of that, my very little understanding, so I could be wrong, is that the idea that only one person is called chef has kind of been cemented through, like, shows like Gordon Ramsay shit, and stuff like that. But I have heard where it is kind of like, it's like a respect thing.
Oh, okay.
Like, kind of, so I'm not gonna go into details. My lady worked for a theater company at one point as kind of a stage manager, and she would give cues. She would say, like, okay, go to places, please. And one of the people in charge were like, you don't have to say please. You're telling them to go to places. But she was like, yeah, but it's polite, and it's my thing. I like to say please.
Okay.
And so I think it's, granted, like I said, I haven't worked in a lot of kitchens or anything. Very little. One, maybe. But my understanding is it's just a different kind of style to where, like, instead of saying, like, it's kind of, what's the thing? Instead of, like, leading by commanding them, you lead by getting in front of it and charging with them.
Sure.
Kind of the same thing. Instead of saying, you call me sir, I'm going to just call you sir as well, and we're all going to fight together. That's kind of what I gathered, and I don't think it's incorrect. I think the whole thing of, like, I'm just going to say, I'm going to call just the main guy chef. I think that's been cemented, like I said, from all these cooking shows. But I do think in a lot of kitchens, chef is just like what you say to each other.
Oh, okay.
And I could be wrong. That's just kind of how I gathered from it.
Yeah. No, I get that mutual respect kind of thing. I mean, I didn't have too much of a problem with it. It was just one of those, like, is that right? I don't know about that. It could very well have been also, like, what I had kind of theorized it might have been, is that his kind of, not necessarily defiance, but having grown up, I mean, being raised in, like, the strict kitchen thing that you saw in the scene with Joel McHale, how it was so stringent on hierarchy and calling everything correct that maybe he wanted to break that and be like, you know what? No, we're not doing that because that was horrible. We're going to bring an element of it, but just kind of more, equal.
It's almost King Arthur and the Round Table.
Right.
Kind of shit,
Definitely.
No, I didn't have a huge problem with that. I did, like I said, my lady asked me about it, and I kind of told her what I told you, and
yeah,
I heard some people on the internet were kind of like, that's not realistic, but like, one, all kitchens are different. Like, if you come to my place, 100%. We probably do things differently than that place does, and that place probably does things differently than another place, and so, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, cool. Really good show. Amazing show. The Bear on Hulu. If you haven't seen it, we've just told you everything.
Everything you need to know about it. Yeah.
Yeah, we've spoiled it all. Really good. But cool, yeah. Well, That's all I got for today, I think. But
Me too, for the most part. I wrote a book and it's out now.
oh shit!
But
you want to plug that?
No, we could talk about it a different time.
You don't want to plug it?
I can, I guess.
People might buy it, you know.
Well, because I had issues because it was released this past Monday on digital.
Okay.
And then I realized it's one of those things. You know how like when you write something that's so great and then you give it to somebody and you realize there's typos in it.
Yeah.
Not exactly the same thing, but kind of the same thing. And then I also have had issues getting the paperback version approved for reasons I'm not going to go into.
Okay.
It's very. It's one of those things like I have no interest in knowing a lot about this shit, but now I do. But yeah, so we'll probably go into that in another episode once all this stuff is cleared up.
Sweet.
Yep.
So you don't want to plug it. You don't want people to buy it.
If you Google Errant, ERRANT, or you put it in Amazon, Amazon, ERRANT, it'll come up. Hopefully.
Get Errant by M. Glennie on Amazon.
Oh, so you just found it.
I've read it. Pretty good. It's no, I haven't read it.
I was like, have you read it?
No, I haven't.
5 stars, guys.
Oh, is there an audiobook yet? Oh, are you going to record your own audiobook?
Possibly.
Tell you what, if you could do it in 2 weeks, I know you don't have much shit going on, but if you can get that done in 2 weeks, we'll listen to it on the drive when we drive cross country.
I'll keep that in mind.
Or just call us and read it to us while we're on the road. That'll be great.
Are you guys busy? All right, I have about 10 minutes. Let's get through chapter 3.
Love it. All right. Well, that'll be it for us this week. Thank you for listening. I don't have any last words, so I was just going to say bye.
That's fine. Bye.
All right. See ya.